have a fairly lengthy agenda. Before we begin, I would just remind everyone to turn their cell phones off or turn them on silent. At this time, I would ask Commissioner Brian Booth if he would say the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we come before you today, dear Lord, Lord, watch over our meeting today, dear Heavenly Father, and Lord, ask that every decision that's made here today, dear Heavenly Father, will be for the benefit of this county, dear Lord, and Lord, watch over all the ones that stayed in Western Kentucky, dear Heavenly Father, the tornado victims, dear Lord, and bless them, dear Heavenly Father, in their long recovery, dear Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Judge Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Robertson?
Here.
Commissioner Tackett?
Here.
Commissioner Booth?
Here.
We have a quorum. We are ready to proceed. And I would like to ask Emergency Management Director Doug Tackett if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the December 7th, 2021 meeting of the Pike County Fiscal Court. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. We have with us today Pike County Clerk Rhonda Taylor. And Rhonda, welcome. Would you come up? And I think you have some folks with you. Some of them I know very well. And introduce everybody. If anybody else wants to come up, you can have a seat up here. Carolyn, you want to come on up? Marie, you want to come up? Hey, Rhonda, for purposes of the record, so everybody that's watching the court meeting, we'll just start with Marie and let everybody introduce themselves and tell them what role they're here, in what capacity they're here in today.
I'm Marie Childers. I'm the election commissioner, Republican election commissioner.
I'm Rhonda Taylor, and I'm the Pike County Clerk, and I'm also the president of the Pike County Board of Elections.
Jennifer Bevins, and I'm the Democrat chairperson of the Board of the Elections.
My name is Danny Crum. I'm from Harp Enterprises. I'm the territory manager for the election company that does your voting machine services and election services.
Thank you. Jennifer, welcome. First court meeting that you've been to in a while. Marie's here frequently, and welcome. There's an important issue that's come to our attention through our county clerk, who's been working hard on an issue that I think the public needs to know about. Something that a lot of people are concerned about. It's election security, making sure that everyone's vote's counted the way that they cast it. So, Rhonda, you have the floor, and please proceed.
I'm here today to let you know what's coming down the pipe. We've had House Bill 574 passed. For those of you that are not familiar with that, that is a bill that proposes a paper trail for all voter equipment. All voter machines have to have a paper trail. As of right now, we have a machine that we call an e-slate, and that is for handicapped voters or people with disabilities. And those are getting replaced because they don't have an actual paper ballot trail. When someone comes and votes on these machines, we do have a tally, but it's an electronic tally. So the state, for the integrity of elections, feels that it's better to have a paper ballot that can be counted in the event that there's anything that happens in an election. Kentucky has been really good in this last election. I mean, we led the way as far as voter integrity and stuff across the nation. We didn't have any problems, but a lot of other states did, so this is what brought about the House Bill 574. As of right now, there's some funds available using HAVA money. And for people that don't know what HAVA stands for, that's the Helping America Vote. And they've got money available per precinct. We have 57 precincts, and we are allotted $2,200 for each precinct at this time, but it's money that is only available if we purchase new equipment. Now, our county hasn't had any new equipment since 2008. I want everybody to know, as of right now, our voting equipment does work. It is operable, and we can get through another election with the equipment that we have, but no equipment will be replaced by our vendor or any other vendors from now on if we have any type of breakdowns. They're not ordering parts. They're not replacing anything that we have because of this act. They're not going to waste money on machines that don't comply with federal guidelines. So that's what's coming down the pike. And, you know, we need to keep up with technology if at all possible, if we can afford it. And actually, even if we can't really afford it, we need to do what we can to get the funding that's out there to use at a later time if they'll let us. But they say if we go this route and we do purchase equipment, that we will have to use it.
So let me ask a question. So House Bill 574 is obviously state legislation. Are the machines that we are currently using not in compliance with state law?
They are, but they aren't. I mean, we can use them as of right now, but in the future, as soon as they get it to where it's kind of hard to explain to the fact that we can't replace any machines when they go down. We have to have these new compliant machines. So now we could wait, but if you do, this $125,000 that they're going to give us that we're eligible for will not be available. It's a one-time shot, and if we let it pass us by, then from what I can understand, we won't get it again. Danny may be able to tell you a little more about the inner workings of the machines as far as replacements.
So right now, I know that at my precinct on Island Creek that we're using different kinds of machines. You've got two different kind of ways to vote. The one where you put the paper ballot in, I think it counts it, and the other ones where you get a number and you put that number in and
those are the ones in question.
So, Danny, go ahead, tell us a little bit more about this.
So the House bill basically states for us as a vendor, we can no longer sell you a piece of equipment that doesn't have a paper trail. And so you're right, currently you have two different types of machines. You have one that's paper-based and one that's an electronic. And so in the event that something happens to that electronic machine, that House bill excludes us from allowing you to buy a new piece of equipment that doesn't have a paper trail.
So, and I've not looked at the bill, but so the state's basically telling the counties that if you buy, they're not saying you have to replace the voting machines, but that if you do buy new ones, they have to have a paper trail. Is that essentially what they're saying?
That's correct, yeah.
So how long will this HAVA money, this $2,200 per precinct, be around?
I think they're gobbling it up now. So
Is there 52 precincts?
57.
57. I think it was 57 precincts. Yeah, the big issue was, this is sort of something that's just come up to us that's not budgeted. Now, there is an option, and there's been a lot of misinformation about this ARPA money. And I've seen some counties, for instance, going on Facebook buying fire trucks. Can't do that. We are going to be hiring another law firm. We had actually planned on hiring one firm, and they ended up having a conflict. And let me just give you a little bit of background on this so Marie and Jennifer will know. This ARPA money is obviously federal money, but the strings that are attached to it, it can be spent on water, broadband, sewer. It can be spent on things that directly impact COVID, like advertising campaigns or vaccination or screening, those kind of things. But there's some miscommunication because I saw there's one county posted they were giving each volunteer fire department $300,000. I've looked at it. I've had the Department of Local Government, and we'll talk about this in a second. I mean, Commissioner Booth and the commissioners were in a meeting where a fire department or a county EMS issue came up. Can they buy ambulances because of the increased number of COVID calls they've had? And the answer was unequivocally, no, you can't buy equipment out of that money. You can't use it for pension costs. There's just a lot of strings on it, and we want to make sure we're spending it correctly. But the one opportunity we have is the lost revenue portion of that money. And we're still in the process of calculating that. We know that we have some lost revenue as it's calculated under the formula in the ARPA Act. So one option for something like this, it's unbudgeted. We're going to talk about something else when Mr. Tackett comes up today, which is a radio system for our firefighters and EMS. We're dealing with the same kind of situation, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because the situation is really similar, is that we've got a radio system that they're not even making parts for anymore, that we're having to find them on eBay, and it's getting to the point where I'm worried about our fire departments not even being able to communicate. So that's something that we're looking at. So $2,200 for 57 precincts. What will be the cost to replace would this be all new voting machines, Rhonda?
Well, that's where we run into an issue. The new handicap accessible machine, the ballot can be scanned into our regular scanners, where before it didn't require a scanner, now it will. So you're going to have like two different systems working if you don't replace all of them.
What's the cost to replace all of them, Danny?
The estimate I gave, she's got the
It's in your packet.
it's for.
Now, I know you guys are on a different budgeting cycle than what we are in the clerk's office. So you all run from, was it July the 1st to, or we're January the 1st? So,
And I never understood why the sheriff and the clerk are on a calendar year and we're on the fiscal year.
Yeah.
I never understood that. But Kentucky government doesn't always make a lot of sense.
I have to agree with you on a lot of things they do.
And you know, the problem is, here's a problem I have, and I think Marie and will agree with this, Jennifer will agree with this. They're sitting on more than $1 billion surplus in Frankfurt. And they're basically telling the counties that they've got to buy new voting machines, whether it's now or down the road, but they're making no allocation of state funds for that. Is that correct?
You're getting the $2,200 per precinct.
But is that state money or is that federal money?
That's
I think
federal
it's
money.
money.
That's federal
What I'm
money.
saying is
The state may step up in the future with something to help us. You know, I don't know if they will or not, but that's a possibility. But even if they do, if we let this $125,000 pass us by and we
I mean,
don't,
it's 120, it's either pay 344, 355 later, or maybe more, or get the $125,000. Do we know that we're gonna get the $125,000?
yeah.
Now, the other question is, we've got our purchasing director, Greg Fannin, and I do not like going, and I won't go around Greg. So any purchases that the fiscal court has to make, Danny, you'll have to get with Greg, okay? Now, the other question is this a state contract price?
we're not on a state contract.
So you understand, we can't buy these from him without bidding it. These have to be bid.
Well, I don't, now that I do not know because I have, if you look in your packet, it looked like back in 2008, possibly, I think it is, where the court approved 4 new machines the last time they were purchased. March the 27th, 2008. So I don't know. That was, I wasn't around at that time
Well,
for voting machines, and you guys weren't either, so.
so the only thing I'm gonna say about that, Rhonda, is
I don't know if they bid it out to HARP,
We
but I
felt-
know that they've been our vendor for 30-some years, so that is the only thing that I really know.
there's a lot of stuff that was done here in the past that wasn't quite, so I see where Judge Rutherford's got that, but what I know, I don't know if those were bid out, okay? So let me just, Danny, explain this to you. KRS Chapter 45A is a uniform procurement code that has been adopted by the Pike County Fiscal Court. And if a purchase is over $30,000, which is a state, that number's set by state statute for local governments, there's only about 3 options that we have. One is if it's a state contract price, we can buy it. We don't have to bid it. 2, if it's something like a Sourcewell contract, if you're part of the Sourcewell cooperative purchasing or one of those types of co-ops, we can buy it without bidding it. Anything else that's over $30,000, excluding personal services, like if the county hires an engineer or a lawyer or procures insurance, we don't have to bid those things out. This is all laid out by statute. This is not me being difficult. This is the law. And even if you've got the best price, we have a statutory obligation to put this out for bid. Your company may be the only bidder. There may be other companies. So we can't legally do a vote on this today. You would agree. Greg, can you come up here, please?
Maybe you can research, Judge, maybe you can research the minutes, the court minutes that read up to that maybe and see.
Rhonda, I can have them looked at it, but, I know what the law is. I'm not just being difficult here. The county cannot, Greg, you agree with my assessment on that?
Yes, I do. The only other option that would allow us to buy those is if they were a single source supplier, which they are not.
So when single source suppliers, so let's say, we need something for one of our Mack trucks, and Mack's the only people that make it, and there's only one supplier, then we can go without bidding it. But, and there's no way, and no disrespect to what happened at any prior court meeting, okay? Just because they've done something here in 2008, that's not gonna bind what this court does, because, there's stuff that was done in the past that was not legal, okay? And I'm not saying anybody committed a crime, but there were things that were not done. There were expenditures of money that I believe were not in compliance. And I'm not going to be the one that loses their law license and goes to jail because, we violated the procurement code. We're really diligent about this. So what we have to do is we have to put a bid out for this. And the risk that runs is I don't know when this ARPA or when this HAVA money is going to be gone, but we have no choice but to put it out for bid. And we'll do that. Greg can get a bid put together, but what he'll have to get with you three, and we need to do this quickly if you want to get this done.
Well, I'm just here to let you all, to be aware that it's available to you all, if you want to buy machines. We're just presenting it to you to let you know what's coming down the pipe.
Jennifer, Marie, do you all think we need new machines?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we will work toward this, and I'm hoping that the HAVA money, that $125,000 is not gone, but there's absolutely Danny, you have something to say?
So they have to be purchased and used before the next election. So that's the biggest for the primary. So we just need enough time.
Well, it won't take us long to put a
Right,
bid
yeah.
together. We can get a bid out probably, next week?
Pretty quick, we just have to advertise in the paper for 7 days.
But here's what we have to know, and here's what the bid has to say. This is where we need your help, okay? Is the bid has to specify what you're asking to be bid, okay? I mean, you know, it's like buying a truck, you know. How many ton truck, what size engine, what color. It has to have all the specifications in it.
Can it be a brand?
No, it can't be a brand.
So do you want this list here that we submitted to you already to be more specific?
Well,
Is that what you need?
Greg can look at this, but we can't I don't know enough about the equipment, okay? Is Verity a specific brand?
It is, Hard Civic is the manufacturer, and that's the current the manufacturer for your current equipment. And there are a lot of guidelines that have to be used when purchasing voting equipment. A lot of standards that have to meet federal and state guidelines.
Like what's a HVS disposal fee?
So your current equipment that you have has to be recycled. Batteries have to be pulled out. You know, you can't just throw those in a landfill. We don't make any money on that. It's a service that we've got contracted out with another company that recycles that equipment.
Danny, don't you have a bid package, a bid spec package already ready for situations like this?
Yeah,
Have other counties put this out for bid?
yeah, we've already sold probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50, 60 accounts that,
Okay, let me just ask you real quick. Every other county, how many counties have you sold new equipment to since House Bill 574?
probably in the neighborhood of 35.
Did they all put it out for bid?
There's a couple that did not. One of those went with a sole source because they had received grant money previously and had purchased some of that equipment already with the grant money. So they needed additional equipment to meet what they already had.
And then shipping, where do these things have to come from? $2,250 for shipping?
They're manufactured in Texas. And we have those shipped to our facility, do the acceptance testing, unbox, and then we deliver that here to Pike County.
I'll give this to Greg if he didn't have a copy of it, and we'll get a bid package put together, but Greg says that HARP is not the sole source for these. So, do other companies sell Verity scans and all the?
But HARP is our vendor, and they're the ones that we choose to use. I don't think there's only just a few in the state vendors, and this happens to be ours, and we have a good relationship with them.
I know, Rhonda, but we have no choice. Having a good relationship.
I don't think, will you service you won't service another carrier's equipment, will you?
No, and I can help with the bid packet.
Okay.
Here's the situation. It has to be bid. You agree with that? Greg, you agree it has to be
Yes,
bid?
sir.
Frank, you agree it has to be bid?
We don't have a problem with
Is there
it.
anybody that thinks on the court, treasurer, county attorney, anybody thinks it doesn't have to be bid? It's not a long process. But we still have to put it out legally, and we don't know who's gonna bid for it. The question I'm asking though, is when we put the specifications in the bid package, so that, and it's advertised so that everybody has fair notice of what we're seeking to buy, is Verity, are you the only company that sells Verity Duos standalones, whatever that is?
Correct, yes.
And, so what is a scan bundle? I'm not sure how we could, I don't get involved in writing bids, okay? That's not my job. So we'll get this information and get it to Mr. Fannin, and hopefully, maybe even, probably won't be tomorrow, will it, Greg? Probably next week to get a bid package put out.
I'll try to get something together the first of the week and get it in the paper.
And, you know, if not by the first meeting in May, or in January, the second one, but we ought to be able to get these in. If we bought them in January, would we be able to get them in, get everybody trained, and have them in
Yes.
for May?
Is that a process that the Board of Elections and Rhonda can help with as far as the,
I've never been on the Board of Elections, so I mean, that's a question you'd have to ask them.
no, as far as the bid specs go, is what she wants?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Rhonda, or the Board of Elections needs to get with Greg and write what the specifications of what you want, what we need. 'Cause I don't know anything about voting machines. So, and we'll write the bid and we'll get it out. And
That'd be fine.
Danny, don't you have a packet that they've already put together?
Correct, yeah.
They could just turn it in that,
All of the other counties that I've sold have used the packet that we've got together, so.
I mean,
You know.
I'll let Greg put the package together, because I don't get into that. I don't have anything to do with, I don't get involved in purchasing. You can get with Greg today, or you can get with Greg tomorrow, but the sooner the better we can get this put out. And then, that'll give us some more time to verify our lost revenue calculations from ARPA. To where if we've got the lost revenue, we can take that money as lost revenue, roll it into the general fund and pay for this, because this is not budgeted. You know, this is really a $320,000 or $220,000 unbudgeted expenditure. So the question is, do we pay the $344, $355, let's say that's the bid price? Do we pay that and then we apply for the HAVA money and they reimburse us? Or will they just pay you directly, your company, for instance?
It's reimbursed.
Okay. All right.
Karen Sellers said you're a very good friend of hers, and she knows you really well, and she has some information that she said she would send to you if you needed it. I don't think we have to actually use these in the primary, because the reimbursement is not available till later in the spring, but we would have to use them in the general 2022.
Yeah, Karen Sellers that you're referring to is the director of the State Board of Elections, who's a personal friend of mine, and she's Republican, and I recommended her highly for that job. I think they got an excellent person.
So we've been dealing with her, so if you've got any questions you need to ask, she said she'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
But we'll get this done, because I've talked to Marie about this before, and, you know, I think there's nobody in this county, regardless of their political beliefs, that don't want to have free and fair elections.
Yes.
We don't want to have the issue like they had in Florida with the hanging chads, or, you know, we don't want anybody questioning what happens here. And we'll see if we can get this done. Like I said, it's not budgeted, but there may be a way to get this done and pay for it, just like we've got to find a way to get radios for our fire departments. That, to me, is the most pressing thing we have, is our radio system for our first responders is something we're going to be talking about today, and it's a massive expenditure. It's about, Doug, what, 1.2 million? And, you know, we got to come, these things are just unbudgeted, and, you know, we're having to try to find ways to do important things, but I think this is something we can get done. So.
Well, since we won't have to use them until November, you know, you've got till, you can put it in your next budget if you have the money, and if you don't, we understand. You do whatever you think you need
The
would be
commissioners
best.
are going to have some questions for you, too. I was given my.
What is it?
Right.
But if they're not budgeted for them, and you've got to the next budgeted cycle to get them in there if any way possible, if you can find the extra money, I don't know how that COVID money, I don't know what the exact terms for that is, and I don't know how that gets recycled and put in another fund to come out of another fund. I don't know how that works, but if you have any, you know, whatever you all decide to do is, you know, but as of right now for the primary, like I said, we're operable. We can get through the primary now, but it's coming, so be prepared. That's, you know, why we're here today, is to let you know that it's coming down the pike. You will have to buy them eventually. So it won't be a surprise to you.
Yeah, the big issues, I mean, if we're gonna have to buy them, I don't wanna lose that reimbursement of $125,000, because we're all about saving money.
You're kind of in a little catch-22 with that. I don't know what y'all's financial situation is. I only know what our financial situation
A lot
is.
better than it was 3 years ago, I can tell you that much. I mean, but we're very conscious of every dime we spend, and we're not raising taxes. I mean, I think the public needs to understand, the last administration raised property taxes twice and put an occupational tax on. This court's not raised 1 penny of taxes. And that's our goal, is to not raise taxes, because the economy is so bad. And, it's just, you can't raise taxes on the people who are working and struggling to pay their bills now with the economy the way it is.
I agree with you 100%. I'd like to take a minute, if you don't mind. I want to introduce 2 of my girls that work in my election department, that one's my left hand, one's my right hand, and I couldn't get by without them. Stand up, girls. This is Debbie Hopkins and Cheryl Justice. And they do such a good job. And I want to thank all of our poll workers out in the county that show up and get us through Election Day, and all the volunteers that we had. We had volunteers come in to help us, because we were short-staffed and we were in a COVID situation during the last election.
And I think that we'll do what we did the last time and increase the pay for election workers, because it's hard to get anybody to work, period. And then to potentially expose election workers to, in the middle of a pandemic, it makes it even harder. So we want to make sure that we have adequate staff. And I know there's been some issues. I mean, there's a couple instances where people may not have shown up on time. And so we need to make sure that we've got adequate staff so you can do your job, and we'll do our part on that.
Well, that happens every election day in every county. You always have somebody that's late, had an emergency. It's just all 120 counties, they have the same issue.
Commissioner Robertson, Commissioner Tackett, do you have anything?
Is there anything you guys need to ask us or want to discuss?
I think that if y'all can get with Greg next Monday or whatever, I think we can have this back on the agenda by probably the next court meeting, wouldn't we, Greg?
How many days we have to have it out?
We have to advertise for 7 days. And then we have to have a bid opening and then bring it to the next court meeting.
So it'll be pushed.
Other than we apply.
I think we'd have this ready to go for the court by the 2nd meeting in January.
Second meeting, and that'll give us some time to get with our.
I've already kind of secured our $125,000, so we'll get what we can with that, but once we get them, we have to use them.
Okay.
So,
And I like the paper ballot system. And I like the way you do it now. I mean, that way you don't have to worry about running to your precinct where you.
with the voter centers, to be honest with you, that's something I wanted to do way before COVID, but it really wasn't attainable until we got these electronic poll books.
So that way you can go in anywhere you want.
You can vote at any location regardless. Now, we still have all of our precincts, and we will have those until you redistrict. I don't look for us to lose very many. We'll still have.
So that's another interesting topic.
You're going to be really busy come a few months from now.
After the May primary, and it won't be for the next election, it'll be for the one 4 years in 2026.
Yeah.
We will go ahead probably next summer and reapportion the county boundaries after the primary. Like I said, it won't take effect for this next election. And just so the folks out there understand why we have to do that, is it's basically the one man, one vote rule. Is if you have, for instance, one district that's got more people than another, then the weight of their vote is less than the smaller district. So the one thing I'm a little bit upset about is we've not had a whole lot of guidance from anybody, CAECO or Department of Local Government or anybody, on how to do this reapportionment process. I don't know that we've even got the precinct level data yet. I've not seen that. Have you, anybody seen that? That's not even been provided to us yet.
I thought they were putting that in your all's training for your conferences and stuff.
There was one little it was about an hour, on 1 hour on reapportionment, but we don't have, now they may do it in the spring, when the conferences start back.
Because you can't start it until May.
Well,
if they don't push it up?
I don't know when we can actually start it, but we don't have the data to start. We've got the county's population data. We know what the county's population is, but we don't have it broken down by precinct. And until we get the precinct data or the geographical data, I'm not sure how they do that.
State Board of Elections should be able to provide you with that.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing that yet, so I'm not sure. As you know, the legislature's probably going to try to do reapportionment of the Senate and House boundaries the first week of January. And, so you've got people who have filed for office that may end up not being in the districts that they filed in. There's going to be quite a bit of change to the legislative boundaries, I would suspect, so. But anyway, we'll be in touch, and
Well, we
y'all
appreciate the
coming.
court's time and hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. And for everybody out in the county, I appreciate all their support. They've been really good to call and give us kind words, and especially when we had COVID, and for all those that's lost one of their loved ones, my heart goes out to them. We've lost a lot of people in my community and a lot of people across the county.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're still losing people. There's still a lot of people sick, and we still encourage everyone to get vaccinated, and we try to space everybody out here. I think everybody up here is triple vaccinated, so that's a good thing.
Thank y'all for your time.
Yeah, every one of y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Marie, Merry Christmas. Hey, Jennifer, are you gonna be around for a while?
Pardon?
Are you gonna be around for a little while?
Yeah,
I don't know how long we're gonna be. I'll give you a call.
I'll be downstairs.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right. All right, next item is we have Emergency Management Director Doug Tackett and Deputy Emergency Management Director Nee Jackson. Gentlemen, would you all come up for me? And first of all, I want to commend both of you for your being willing to go to Western Kentucky and volunteer to help the folks down there in the counties that were devastated. I've said this before, and I'll say it to you face to face. We've had, for a long time, the best emergency management director in Kentucky, and he's getting ready to retire, and we're going to miss him. And, I know when I went down to the emergency management conference, Doug is he's sort of the dean of that organization. He's one of the most respected people in the field. And, a lot of times, time goes by that we don't necessarily have an emergency, or, there's emergency management's not being called out every day. And
Right.
we've got a great department right now with you guys and CJ. CJ does a great job. This is such an important office that a lot of people don't think about. But, if you just think what we've had floods, we've had storms since I've been judge, we've had a train derailment that could have been catastrophic.
Right.
And, my former state Senate district that I represented, we had several people killed in a tornado. And if it could happen in Morgan County, in Lawrence County, in Johnson County,
It could
it could
happen
happen
here.
here.
Yes.
And, we can have a lot of debates over what's causing some of this. But, when you start seeing an EF4 tornado in December, it's not even in tornado season.
No.
And it ought to make people, question, what's happening. I think you're going to start seeing more and more severe storm events. We can talk about whether it's man-made or we can talk about whether it's not. But we're starting to see more severe weather. And so, again, thank you all very much. And I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can tell us, just tell us what it was like down there. And also, let me say this. If you have any suggestions, we've got a lot of people calling the fiscal court wanting to know what they can do to help the families, the residents, business owners that were impacted. So I told them we were going to talk to you and let you all give your suggestions.
Well, I would first suggest call us and let us check and see what the folks in Western Kentucky need, because they've had a tremendous outpouring of support from all around the state. They've got all kinds of stuff that's come in and still more on the way, and it would be best to check and see what their needs are before you just send something.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, Saturday morning after the storm, I called Doug and asked Doug to see if there's anything we could do, and then they ended up asking for Doug and me to come down. One of the issues was logistics. I mean, it had so much stuff going in, water, clothes, food, that it was basically becoming a logistical issue, where to put it, how to distribute it, those kind of things. So,
well, they were using some schools to bring stuff into, and we told them when we got down there, I said, you've just seen the tip of the iceberg. You need a bigger place to put stuff. So they went out and found another place that was 6,000 square feet and started routing stuff to it, and it was getting full. And they found another place in Calvert City that they could store stuff. It was about 2,000 square feet. But before we left, the judge found another place that he could get that came with help. It had a crew that would do the forklifts and store stuff and track everything. And they got those folks on board, so they had 3 different warehouses they were bringing stuff to.
Well, so if anyone out there wants to do something to help the victims, call our emergency management office. And Doug, what's that number?
It's 606-432-0210.
So if they'll call emergency management, then we can try to point them in the right direction.
Yeah, we can. They've established a line that you can call to see what donations they need. Okay.
Please proceed.
Okay, I'm going to try to get this presentation running. A little while ago, it didn't seem to want to. Give me just a second.
While Doug's doing that, one thing I'd like to mention is we have the Hvs system, automated warning system. I think right now we have about 3,200 people that are signed up for that. Would urge people to register for the Rave notification system. In a situation like that, they have a system that we used to have here in Pike County, out there in Marshall County where we were at. They only had about 30-some hundred people that were registered with that. For you to be able to get advance notice on a storm like that, any kind of weather event, it's imperative that you can get notice to people. So we would encourage people to sign up for the Rave system by going to Smart 911.
Yes. smart911.com.
Or the link on the Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah. This program is a little bit bigger than that computer can handle, I think. Give it just a second, maybe we'll get it to run. But we'll kind of give you a little bit of information on what we were doing. We were working there in their emergency operations center. We got down there Monday evening about 8:30. And we contacted them, and they needed us in the EOC the next morning at 8. They run from 8 till 6. 10 o'clock each morning, they would have a briefing. All the incident commanders in the field would come in, and the supervisors, like the road supervisor and so on, would all come into the EOC and report what their activities were for the day. And they would brief again the next evening at 6, or the same evening at 6 o'clock, and go through all that again. And we were using that information to do planning for the next day. We had one person that went with us from Lawrence County that was doing the planning. There was actually two of them. One of them had to return early. And we had Tim England, the director from Boyd County, was with us. He was helping me with operations. And we had Chris Hecker from Kentucky Emergency Management, our area manager, that was doing resources. And they had a real good guy doing logistics that was doing a bang-up job. And they had another person that was their PIO that was handling also the volunteers and donated items. And she had a staff of 3 working with her. This is a picture of the Emergency Operations Center. Some of the folks that were working in there get a little crowded sometimes, especially during the briefings.
Yeah, we actually, our Emergency Operations Center was in their, will be their future 911 center. They didn't have it up and running. A lot of their equipment not up and running, but they basically, that was the biggest building that they could get people into. So we used that center before it was actually open. So
yeah, it worked really well. Like I said, we were there each day from 8 till 6 for briefings at 10 and 6, and we were usually 8 or 9 o'clock getting out each night. So we put in about 12 to 14 hours a day in the EOC. This is on the picture on your left. The gentleman in the Carhartt dark or tan jacket is Judge Neal from Marshall County, and the gentleman in the foreground is their emergency management director, who had been on the job for 1.5 years. This was his first disaster. It's a heck of a way to get broke in.
Yeah.
And this is, it's a very busy place. Like I said, we work 12 to 14 hours each day, handling resource requests. Nee was running the operations desk. I was with their director in the incident command position, helping him. They wanted me with him to mentor him because he was so new. And he really appreciated all the help that we gave him. He said it numerous times. He couldn't have done it without us. The number of homes affected were 697 homes in Marshall County that were hit by the tornado. 278 of those were destroyed or just completely missing. 78 had heavy damage and not habitable, and 75 with medium damage that could be repaired, and 246 homes with light damage. And this is some of the pictures from around Marshall County and the area that was hit on the east side of Marshall County, near the lake.
this is in the Cambridge Village area on Kentucky Lake there.
And this is the same area near the lake. As you can see, the lake is there.
Did it come across the lake, Doug?
Yes, it went across the lake.
Basically went across Marshall County from the west side to the east side in a diagonal direction, and went all the way across from one side of the county to the other.
How wide was it? About a mile wide?
Mile and a half.
Mile and a half.
That's a massive tornado.
That's a big tornado. You can see, and I've got other pictures that aren't in this presentation, some videos, and there's trees that are destroyed all over the place. One guy showed me a picture of a tree that had a corn stalk stuck in it. It's just unbelievable at the force. This is a house that just took the roof off. And here's some other damaged photos in the Cambridge area.
Have you ever seen anything like this before, Doug?
No, I've never seen anything like this before. This is the worst damage I believe I have ever seen.
Like the picture on the left there, those of you can see those pictures. I mean, that's basically the slab of a house. The house is completely gone. There's nothing left at all. You're pulling in. We pulled into that driveway there, and it's just a blank slab.
They said this storm was so powerful, it was taking debris 30,000 feet in the air and dropping it. And there's people that live 5 miles from the tornado's path that had debris in their yards.
You know, one of my law school, this is interesting, one of my law school classmates in Louisville, his wife found a photograph in their yard
Yeah.
in Louisville that came from a home 150 miles or more, air miles
Yes.
away. And she put that picture on Facebook, and somebody recognized it and found it. So, I mean, that's just amazing that debris was carried that far.
Yeah. Well, as we came up I-69 and the Western Kentucky Parkway, we noticed debris on the side of the road there a long way from where the tornado's path had been.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, you know, we've had tornadoes in Western Kentucky, but I don't think it's ever anything like this before.
No, it hasn't. This is the worst they've ever seen. And I think this is a video.
Doug, is this something that, you know, you've done this a long time. I mean, you know, this time of year you would expect snowstorm, ice storm, maybe a flood. Have any ever heard of a basically a December tornado like this?
They're very rare. You don't hear of them very often at all. This is a video that there's an outfit, a nonprofit agency called Storm Point that came down and flew these damaged areas for them at no cost. And this is some of the drone footage that they flew.
They also run recon for their sheriff's department to keep the looting down at night. These gentlemen, there's a 3-man team that was there. They ran night operations with the sheriff's department to keep the looting down. They actually arrested a guy our second day in.
Yeah.
They arrested a guy stealing equipment off of boats that had broken free and that were out there in the waterway. They recognized him. Recognized his boat. He was in a pontoon boat, and they arrested him the next day.
Well, a thug like that needs to be arrested. I mean, preying on, you know, the thing, I mean, Doug sent me some pictures early on when you guys got down there. And I think my response was it looked like a picture of Hiroshima after the atom bomb went off.
Yeah.
You would see in a history book. I mean, it's just, it's just leveled.
Yeah, these Storm Point also flew the Graves County, Mayfield area as well. And I've got a picture of that, of the courthouse in Maysville. Got some video here, get it to play. This is downtown Maysville, some damage you see there, and eventually I'll let you know when it gets to the courthouse in Maysville, which was just totally destroyed. There's no salvaging anything in it. This is some of the downtown buildings.
But, you know, some of these buildings were stone, you know, massive stone structures, brick structures that...
Most all of these in the Mayfield area, in the downtown Mayfield area, are all older brick structures. So they weren't stick-built wood frame structures. They were all masonry structures.
Yeah.
Just took them down.
Just destroyed them.
Yeah, it seems to have locked up on us right there, but maybe it'll recover here in just a second.
Doug, while we're waiting on the presentation, is there anything that we need to do from an emergency management preparedness standpoint to make sure that if something like this happens in the future here, that we're going to be ready for it?
We need to make sure that the people will understand the need to sign up for RAVE or have weather alert radios, the tone alert weather radios. This building that you see it's approaching is the Graves County Courthouse.
Be on the right there.
And it'll turn to it right there, and screen center's the courthouse.
The Judicial Center County
Yes.
Courthouse?
That's the county courthouse.
So let me ask you, we did the program, the grant for the weather radar, or the weather radios.
Right.
Have we got those in yet?
No, they were turned down because of lack of funding. However, with this disaster, there will be a new pot of money for mitigation.
Of course, you've got folks like Rand Paul that's, that oppose it before he supports it. So, I mean, we're gonna have to have some help from the federal government to make sure that our counties are prepared for this.
Exactly.
Like I said, if it can happen down in Marshall County or Graves County, it could happen in Pike County.
Yes, it can.
I mean-
We've had 2 tornadoes in this county in the past, one in 98 and another one, I think it was 2009 maybe.
So what could we do to get, do we need some kind of PR to get people to sign up for the Rave Alert? Because I've
Probably.
talked about it.
We just did,
We did 2 news programs with YMT and Mountaintop News, and I'm looking at Mountaintop maybe running some spots too. They said PSAs they usually run at low traffic times, and we might want to look at maybe doing some high traffic areas and such.
One of the things that we could do is we could do some public service spots.
Yes.
And pay for them with the ARPA money.
Right.
To encourage people to sign up for the Rave Alert system to get important notifications about COVID.
Right.
And other potential problems, but
Yes.
I think that's a communication effort to reduce. We have to tie it into the pandemic. Like we get important information about the COVID-19 pandemic, or other emergency situations.
Yeah.
we actually, Doug and I both discussed the weather radios as well with Wade, the EM director down there, before we left, and their deputy director, about reapplying with this new federal disaster. There'll be more monies available with this where this disaster is declared federally.
I mean, it's really amazing the death toll wasn't higher.
They lost 2 in Marshall County. One was a heart attack. Both of them were deemed fatalities. One of them, the first one was due to injuries. The second one was a heart attack that was also tied to the disaster. There was a third one passed away when Doug and I were there, and
Fell off a roof.
fell off a roof that was working on a home tarping it. So I'm sure that may end up
Is
being
there
the
any
third one.
equipment that you guys need, any kind of resources that we need to make sure that we don't, that we need, that we have if something happens that we don't have now?
We can think about it and see what we can come up with. We might need some new laptops for the EOC. Those are getting kind of old over there, and they're not as spry as they used to be.
That was one of the things down there. They had they were great to work with. The setup that they had.
We brought our own computers.
Yeah, everybody had to bring your own device. So we had some issues with their Wi-Fi and some IT problems, but eventually got everything up and running.
On the RAVE system, we've got about 3,200 people that have signed up, and we talked to Wade. They've got Code Red, and they had about 3,000 people that signed up countywide. And they're having the same issues we are, getting people to sign up for the systems.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost people anything. That's the thing. A lot of people, I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. A little bit of time getting your information input in there.
Yeah.
There's not anything about that system that we're not sharing that information with anybody else. I mean, there's not anybody getting any personal information with that system.
Yeah, it stays within the system, and that's all it's used for.
Any comments or questions from anybody in the court?
I couldn't imagine anything like that ever happened to Pike County. I mean,
Well, it's unimaginable. It really is. And these pictures don't do it justice.
Right. You'd have to be there to actually see it to get.
Yeah. I mean, we can look at pictures all day long, but now there's nothing like seeing it.
Right.
These pictures right here might help people to sign up on the system, though.
Yeah, it might, because this could happen here just like it did there. There's There's nothing that's gonna stop it.
Unbelievable.
If it happens to them, it could happen here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had a couple in Pike County. We had the one in Martin County,
Big McGoffin County.
McGoffin County, West Liberty. I was at both those places that Friday, Saturday, when those tornadoes hit, and that was in February. So, I mean, time of the year, had this tornado hit them in peak population time for Marshall County, because it's a huge tourist attraction. A lot of these people, that was their second home. That was another thing. Timing wise, had this happened in July or August, the death toll would have definitely been more.
It would have
because
been
a lot of those families would have been in those vacation homes, or people down there at some of those state parks.
The night of the tornado in McGoffin County, Morgan County, I came through there 10 minutes before it hit.
Yeah.
And by the time I got home, I went back down there later that evening with members of the Shelby Creek Rescue Squad. Big Joe was down there. You know, I mean, there was a lot of damage. And I always described it as like a war movie. Like downtown West Liberty looked like this closing, you know, that closing battle in Saving Private Ryan, were just debris everywhere.
Yeah.
Rubble. But to me, I mean, this is massively worse
Yes, it is.
than what I saw in Sayersville or West Liberty. This is, I mean, by far. And we do need to get people signed up for the Rave Alert system. And I'll just say this again, go to the Pike County Emergency Management's Facebook page.
Yeah.
You're on Facebook. If you're streaming this on Facebook, if you're watching in the stream or you watch it later, there's no reason not to do it. There's a little blue icon that you can click on.
Yes.
It'll take you to the sign up. And, you know, we've used the Rave Alert for other things. We've used it for notices about solid waste. How many people do we have signed up, or how many?
About 3,200 signed up.
It's way below what it should be.
It just takes a few minutes of your time, and it could save your life.
And, you know, we've had a lot of different things happen here. Chemical spills, train derailments. We've had plane crashes.
Yes.
Floods.
We're not immune from
ice
anything.
storms. So I want to be, and I think this court wants to make sure that we're as prepared as we can be. We can't prevent stuff. We're going to talk here just in a second. We've got Chief Meadows and Mr. Baldwin from the Shelby Valley Fire Department here. And Doug, I want to move on to this issue about the radios.
Okay.
We have a quote on the radios, is that correct?
Yes, we do.
And is that something, Greg, that we're going to have to bid? Greg, could you come up for a minute? Have you talked to Greg about it?
I haven't talked to Greg about it, but it's on state price contract, all of it.
So do you have that estimate with you?
I don't have it with me, but it was about 1.2 million, just a little over $1.2 million.
Dale, would you or Avis want to come up and talk about the radio system real quick? Might need one more chair if we, hey Roy, could you pull that chair over for the chief? Well, you have a seat up here, we'll pull another chair over. You know, we've had some folks say that, you know, money ought to be given to fire departments for equipment things. I know there's issues that fire departments need equipment for, but it's been conveyed to me that one of the biggest problems that our volunteer fire departments and our EMS staff has is the radio system. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a volunteer firefighter. Commissioner Booth is on the board at the Belfry Fire Department. Can you tell us, I don't want this coming from somebody in the fiscal court. You're volunteers, and you serve the community. You don't get paid for it. But I need you to tell the public that's watching this what kind of problems you're having with the radio system.
Well, when we get paged out, they don't work half the time. We can't talk to each other. And then when they do page it out, they send us we get paged out to the wrong location. We just having all kinds of problems with it.
You know, Nee is the fire chief at Belfry. Are you all having the same problems?
Yes, sir.
Is it because, I mean, why is the system paging you to the wrong address? Do we know that, Doug? Or?
Well, the mapping in the system down there is not like it should be. We've sent updates to them to update their mapping, and I don't know if they haven't applied those or.
How about the 911s?
Yeah, the CAD, the computer-aided dispatch stuff. The mapping, it is not the greatest in the world.
What do we need to do to fix that?
Well, we've sent them updates. If they'll apply those updates, which has to be done in Frankfurt, it should fix a lot of those problems.
Can we follow up on that to make sure it gets
Yes.
done?
Yeah, we have sent them updates, and,
I mean, is it a software problem or a hardware problem where the radios are just not working?
well, the radios are 22 years old. Most of the portables probably need service, and if they can be serviced, but if they need parts, we can't find parts for them.
Don't make them anymore.
They don't make them anymore. Same with the mobiles, same with the old repeaters. The court did replace some of the repeaters, but not all of them, and the ones that haven't been replaced are still having problems.
Chief, Avis, tell me something. What's the number one need that you think we have for fire service in the county?
Radios,
Communication radio.
communications radios.
I mean, I've always believed, and I think Doug Tackett said this, it doesn't matter if you got the best trucks in the world if you can't communicate and know where to go or communicate with each other.
We had a call the other night to go to the high rise. Radios wouldn't work, nothing wouldn't work. Like they was dead, like he died.
Has anybody ever tried to get this system replaced before, Doug? I know you all have applied for grants.
Yeah, we've applied for grants for 4 years to get it replaced and been turned down every year. They're not big on communication projects, evidently, but,
Do you think this is gonna help any with, you know, I hate to be skeptical, but we see something like this happen.
yeah.
And you'll get a response for a period of time, and after the recovery's down the road, then everybody goes back to doing things the same old way they've always done it. There's not enough federal money coming in here to help with preparedness.
Right.
The state's sitting on a massive surplus, and they can't get along with each other up there. You know, we like talking about these voting machines. They pass a law that says you've got to buy new voting machines, but they don't give you any money for that. I mean, you know, I've never been a fan of unfunded mandates, but there's a lot of basic things that county government provides, like the rave alert system, like radios for our fire departments, that they're just oblivious to in Frankfurt. And they have been for years. It doesn't matter. I mean, they've got their own issues, I'm sure, but what I'd like to, I know we got the commissioners up here. What's your all's thoughts on this?
Well, I do know there's a big problem with, especially, I mean, I've got the 911 app on my phone like Nee and the rest of them's got. And a lot of times I've been on the 4-lane or somewhere's coming up the road and it will put out an alert that there's an accident or something somewheres. And it will definitely, it may say that it's at Forest Hills and it'd be all the way up where Little Caesars is or something. Yeah. He knows that. I mean, the mapping is really a big problem. And I do know from my son's talk and different ones at the fire department that, you know, the radio communication is a major problem. And if you ever get in a big fire, here's what bothers me is if you ever do get in a major fire, like at the hospital or something, and you don't have no communications and it's something major, then there could be even a lot more loss of life because there's no communications inside that building.
Absolutely. Our people's lives are at stake as well as the citizens' lives are at stake. Communication is the number one thing. If you can't communicate with your people, like Judge Jones said, we can have the greatest equipment in the world, but if you can't communicate, you know, that destroys that. If you can't get there and communicate where things are at and what's going on, you know, you have somebody that may come into a situation that you've told them, you know, don't come any further, and, you know, they can put themselves in harm's way.
It could be a school or just like we have the mall or Walmart or anything. If you get a major fire in there and you get firemen in there and they can't communicate with each other, know which direction to go, then you could have not only loss of life to your community, you could have loss of life with your fire department.
Yes.
I mean, we're gonna be, like I said, talking about the ARPA. How long is that, contract good for, that price that you?
January 17th.
Okay. So we'll have time, should have time to get an opinion on this lost revenue issue.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that we could use that lost revenue money for that the county desperately needs. But I really can't think of anything that would be more beneficial and potentially, I mean, let's just go back. Let's say we have a major storm event. We're gonna be relying on our volunteer fire departments for rescue and recovery. That's the first line.
You can ask Doug, that, in Marshall County, they have 9 departments in Marshall County.
9 departments.
One of the fire departments in East Marshall, their Station 1 was destroyed. Fortunately, they did have a second station, but they had to all run mutual aid. They were all helping. The Fire Commission was sending departments from Northern Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, and so if something happened here, we have got 22 departments and 1 rescue squad in Pike County. If something happened here, we would have to have these volunteers. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to pull this off.
Yeah.
Now, Frankie, let me ask you, you've done the lost revenue calculations, and you think there might be enough lost revenue to cover this? And if we go ahead and we get council involved, just so the public understands this too, when you're dealing with this much federal money and trying to interpret these crazy guidelines or let me rephrase this, lack of guidelines that they've given us, the last thing that the county could afford, in my opinion, would be to spend the money, get audited, and have to pay millions of dollars back. That's the thing I'm not going to let happen. And I do want outside counsel looking at it because, as a lawyer, if it gets screwed up, I won't have somebody to sue. And so it won't be on the county's back. Doug, would the court want to go ahead and entertain a motion to accept the state contract purchase price on the condition that we get signed off on by that we've got this lost revenue calculation?
Yeah, I think it'd be a great investment to the county and to our fire departments.
I mean, we can talk about stuff like parks and playgrounds or even the trail system. I mean, this is something that could save people, that will
Save lives.
Yes.
And we'll be there.
And for those things are also affected by, if you have ATV trails, you're going to have accidents. Those first responders have to get to those people. And just for instance, if they can't get in touch with you.
It'd be the same way on floods. I mean, when we have
Yes.
floods all the time. I mean, if you don't have communication in a
Go get me
flood,
the estimate.
Okay, I was
By the
going to
radios.
make a little statement
Yes, sir.
before I do. Dee and I have been doing coverage testing with the new repeaters where they do digital and analog. And the coverage with digital is much better than analog. It's by far better.
Okay. Now, I want to let you go get that, and we're going to do this today.
Okay.
That'd be something you all would support.
I just see them. Go ahead.
People that don't have, the iPhones and stuff that gets the 911 alert, all they depend on is radios.
And the problem is, if the radio, I mean, there's places the cell phones don't work, the radios will. I mean, there's places even up on 23 that my cell phone cuts out.
In the head of Longport, you don't have no cell
Right.
service.
My holler up on Left Fork of Island Creek, when you get past when you go on the county right of way, it cuts out just about 99% of the time.
Some places on Longport, we don't have radio service.
So is there a way to fix that?
This digital should help clear up some of those areas. And
Yeah.
we put preamps on all of the repeaters, which boost and amplify the incoming signal. So that helps too.
Now, let me throw this at you here just for a second. Doug's getting ready to retire. He ain't told me a specific date yet.
January 31st.
And I mean, really, I need to say this. First of all, we're losing Charles Maynard. He's retiring, and we want to wish him nothing but happiness. He's not here today, but he's done a great job in GIS. And when Doug, I've known Doug my whole life. I mean, grew up on the same creek. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've known Doug. It's a wonder he didn't drown me when I was a kid. I was aggravating him so bad. But you know, we've had, and I've said this, I've said before I ever got in politics, he's the best at what he does. And we're losing a lot of knowledge. And one of the things that I think was a silver lining in the cloud was that Nee got some experience that maybe he wouldn't have otherwise got, that may save lives here someday, may help us if we have a disaster. And he knows this, he's going to have big shoes to fill. And, you know, when he got ready to retire and told us he was leaving, I asked him who he thought we ought to replace him with. And his first name, Nee Jackson. Well, that's somebody I already had in mind. I think the court already, it was a no-brainer. So now we've got to replace Charles. And I'd like, just real quick, if Tim, could you come up for a second? Greg, I'll let you step back for a second. And I want to introduce somebody that I think is another person that I'm going a little bit out of order and I'm jumping around. And this is normally not the way to do this, but we've got a special guest here today. And this is Mr. Tim Fields. Tim, how are you today?
I'm doing all right.
Tim, just so the folks will know, used to work in GIS here, was a county employee, works for the PVA, and he is the Floyd County Emergency Management Director currently. And Judge Williams may not be happy to find out he's up here, but he has applied for the position of GIS coordinator. And I want Doug just to speak a few words about Tim. This was a recommendation that Doug had made, not only to fill the shoes in the GIS department, but potentially to fill the role of FEMA coordinator. And I know Frankie will appreciate the help on that. And also Deputy Emergency Management Director. So it won't be somebody that's just coming in to replace Charles in GIS, but would also be coming in to be knees back up after January 31st to take over a lot of the responsibilities that, you know, Frankie spends a lot of his time working with Fabian, working with other county departments to process FEMA. I mean, you know, when we have a storm and there's a FEMA, I mean, we're still closing out FEMA claims from. So, I mean, it's really having somebody with Tim's background. Tim, you've done a lot of FEMA work before, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm the applicant agent for Floyd County at the moment.
So you're doing the same thing Frankie's doing in Floyd County, plus Emergency Management Director.
And 911 coordinator.
And 911 coordinator. So, I mean, plus he's from Virgie, so that's that makes it a little better. But I want to just introduce Tim because we're going to be talking about that position here in a little bit. Doug, you have anything you want to say about?
Well, Tim, when I came here, Tim was working with the PVA then, and I think I'd been here about 2 or 3 years, and we started looking at GIS and building it from the ground floor. Tim was instrumental in doing that because he had some knowledge with mapping and GPS equipment and stuff, and he helped us get the GIS system off the ground back in '98, and he's worked with it ever since.
Now, just so the public may not know, they may know, we use a lot of acronyms. What is GIS?
Geographic Information Systems.
And can you tell us why that's important?
That's important because that's how we do all of our addressing. It's used for solid waste. It's used with the PVA's office. It's used just about in every aspect of county government for geographic information.
911 system.
911 system uses it. We map everything in the county, the roads. We map all the structures and all that information. When you put it on a map, you can click on it and it gives you information about it. So it's very detailed information in a lot of cases, and it's very important for us to have.
And to kind of tag on to that, just the situation that Doug and I just came from in Marshall County, their GIS people were very instrumental in the briefings every 10 and 6 every day with information of what was coming in, the drone flyovers that they were doing, trying to overlay that so they could see where the destruction was at, the 911 addresses, because when you go to a situation where all you've got is a slab, you've got to know where that 911 address is and make sure that the right people are tagged with those properties.
And they use pictometry like we do with the aerial flights. They had a flight after the tornado and before it, so they had both those they could put together. And the PVA pulled his information and overlaid it on those flights so they could actually do damage assessment.
And, you know, I'd, of course, never been in county government, at least, you know, as assistant county attorney, I didn't deal with this. But I didn't really realize how important the damage assessment component was in terms of getting it. Say it again, Tim.
It's everything.
I mean, because, you know, we saw at first, like this storm we had over on Blackberry.
Mm-hmm.
We thought at first it was going to qualify, but then when we do the damage assessments, it don't. And, you know, particularly if you have a storm that's right on the edge, the damage assessments may be the difference between your constituents qualifying for federal aid and not qualifying.
Yes.
And for those families that are affected, that's huge. We're still actually working to help. I'm not sure how much it costs the county, but that storm that didn't qualify on Blackberry, and then when it also hit over in Stone Cold, hit Mare Creek, Pike, Floyd Hall, and some of those places, it's cost the county hundreds of thousands of dollars that we can't recoup from FEMA because it didn't qualify.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is vitally important. And, but Doug, if you'll go get that estimate, I'm gonna do a couple other items of business real quick.
Okay.
And there's one other thing. There's an approval to execute a contract for the 2021 EMA program funds.
Okay.
What is that? Can you tell
That's
me?
our EMPG program. It's the Emergency Management Performance Grant that we get every year, but for some reason this year they wanted it approved by the court. Our allotment, I believe, is a little over $31,000 this year. We're allotted money every year in that program, and we have a work plan we go by that qualifies us for that money.
How much money do we get every year?
About 32,000.
Because the reason I was asking, it's got $3 million on this contract.
Well, that's statewide.
And
we use it to offset our salaries and benefits and cell phones and mileage on the trucks.
Gotcha. All right. So is there a motion to approve execution of the 2021 EMA program funds grant application or contract?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Gentlemen, we'll be back with you, and let Doug go get that contract, and we're gonna get you some new radios.
Thank you.
Avis, it shouldn't be the other way around, so thank you all for what you all do.
Well, if it wasn't for you helping us, we couldn't do it.
Well, we're gonna make sure you got what you need to work with.
Okay, thank you.
How's the new station going?
Good. We're moving on up a little bit at a time. We had a toy drive last night. Gave away toys at Station 1.
Thank you all.
See you guys.
They're gonna hang around for a minute. They wanna make sure we execute that contract.
All right.
All right, the next item is the approval to execute the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, the ARPA Fund Management Engagement Agreement. We had previously retained Stotts and Harbison. And what? In which, what's the, Evans looked at this contract, and this is actually with a different firm. This is with Sturgill Turner. Langdon Ryan Worley, who has represented us, she's already represented the county. She defended us on one of the last lawsuits, and she has agreed to take the role that Stotts and Harbison was playing. Kevin, go ahead and
Judge, Mr. Downey and I have gone through this, and we've had a couple of issues we want to bring to the court's attention. The first is, as you've already mentioned, with the Stites contract, we had a conflict arise that they wanted us to waive that we did not feel was in the county's best interest. And on page 3 of this agreement, section 6, there is a preemptive conflict waiver, which would in essence waive the types of conflicts we saw on that last, with the last firm in advance, which I don't recommend. I'd rather take those as they come so that we can see if we want to waive those. And the other issue that I had a problem with is page 5, numerical paragraph 17. We always deal with this, but there is a choice of venue that sets forth that Fayette County will be the place of any contract disputes. And so we need to address that as well. There's no arbitration provision in this. There is a mediation provision on page 511 that I don't necessarily see a problem with that. But I do think that the other two matters are problematic and need to be resolved before we enter into this agreement.
So what I'm going to do is I will call her here at the break, and then we'll come back out of executive session and deal with that. Okay? We'll pass over that for time being. We have next item is acknowledgement of receipt of the audit of the Pike County Sheriff for the year ended December 31st, 2020. It's my understanding it was a clean audit. Is that correct, Mr. Stacy? And we want to thank Sheriff Scott for his hard work and for doing an outstanding job. So is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the audit of the Pike County Sheriff for the year ended December 31st, 2020?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
All right. All right, the next item is the first reading of an amendment to the Pike County Code, Section 190, amending the Pipeful Pike County Museum Board Ordinance. Roy reviewed the changes. Roy, would you give us a first reading on this? No vote will be in order at this time. And just tell me what's in this.
Okay, Judge, it's a rather lengthy document, but most of it is retractions and what this is an agreement between us and the city, basically an ordinance, because we both contribute, both the county and the city contribute to this museum. One of the things is that they've agreed to go back and change the name, and that's to keep all the paperwork in line with how they advertise it and everything else and how they were portrayed to the community. The other thing is they've deleted a lot of the provisions, and so there's nothing to read because it's deletions, but it's a very lengthy document. And what they're doing is they're basically giving the board the ability to make its own rules and things like that instead of them being set out in this ordinance, and which is a good way to do it because the board can decide what it needs and go from there. Of course, you know, the county government and the Pipeful city government are the ones that appoint the board members. So basically, to give you a brief reading, now therefore be it ordained by the city of Pipeful that code 32.190 of the Code of Ordinance and related to the Pipeful Pike County Museum shall be amended as follows. Whereas a Hatfield and McCoy Pipeful Pike County Museum does business under the name Big Sandy Heritage Center Museum, and whereas a Hatfield and McCoy Pipeful Pike County Museum has requested that the Board of Commissioners of the City of Pipeful and the Fiscal Court of Pike County allow them to operate under this name and to allow them to make other modifications to their bylaws, and whereas the Board of Commissioners of the City of Pipeful desires to accommodate this name change and other changes to the museum bylaws, now therefore be it ordained by the Board of City Commissioners of Pipeful, Kentucky as follows, and that's the changes are listed after that. The city has already approved this. We need to basically, this is our first reading. If anybody's got any questions, they can contact the county attorney's office or their commissioner. But that is what we have, Judge.
All right, that'll be in order for the next meeting. I think Mr. Little's indicated the next item, which deals with Spa Court, needs to be passed over because there's some paperwork needing to be completed. Is that correct, Mr. Little?
That is correct.
All right, we'll pass over that one. And then we have a first reading of a proposed road ordinance adopting Acres Drive into the county road system. Mr. Downey, or I should say Colonel Downey, would you please present the first reading on that?
All right, first reading, notice of passage. Whereas it has been determined to be in the best interest of the public for the Pike County Fiscal Court to formally accept public roads into the official county road system, and whereas KRS 178.0101 subsection 1 subsection B defines a county road as a public road which has been adopted by the fiscal court of a county into the county road system. Now therefore be ordained by the fiscal court of Pike County, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the following road being public in nature is hereby formally and officially accepted into the Pike County road system and shall hereafter be a part of said system. This is in District Number 2. It's called Acres Drive. It's 792 feet long and 15 feet wide. And it has the duly attached paperwork showing that the people that live there have signed off on this.
All right, sir, that'll be in order for action at the next meeting. Next item is the approval of appointments to the Pike County Trail Advisory Board. It would be my motion to appoint Doug Ramey to a term ending June 1st, 2025, and to appoint Shane Hurley to fill another vacancy that would expire on June 1, 2025. Doug is actually taking the place of Leanne Coleman, and Mr. Hurley would take the position that Jerry Atkins had on the advisory board, but since he is now the full-time director of trail development, that would create an opening there. So is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Mr. Fannin, awarding a bid, sir.
We had a bid opening on December 10th on bid number 37-2021. 3 2021 or newer Dodge Durango Pursuit all-wheel drive vehicles for the detention center. We had one bidder. It was Walters Mazda here in Pipeful. They bid 3 identical vehicles with identical price of $38,659 each for a total of $115,977. This bid meets all the specifications that were laid out in the bid package, and it would be my recommendation that we award the bid to Walters Mazda.
And let me just point out that these vehicles are not being paid for out of the general fund. I believe these are going to be paid for by the jails, the funds that they've generated.
Correct, their commissary fund.
All right. Is there a motion to award bid number 37-2021 for 3 Dodge Durango vehicles to Walters Mazda for the price of $115,977?
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Now, just as I understand it, the jail will be turning over some of the vehicles that they have that are smaller SUVs. Actually, were too small to the senior citizens program for their use, which will address a huge problem that the senior citizens programs having with vehicles for meal delivery. So, that's a good thing as well. All right, Mr. Little, anything else, sir?
No, sir, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Little, anything?
Judge, I had prepared a PowerPoint myself for the paving that we had done this, was able to do this summer, if you wanted to look at
I'd
that.
like to see that.
Okay, so if you click to the next slide there, Frankie.
Did I give that to you?
All right, I set this up to kind of break it down into the funding that we'd got. For the discretionary funding, we'd received $467,204. Flex funding was $377,297. So with the discretionary money, we were able to pave 1.9 miles on Rock House Mountain, which came to 1,072 ton, $84,732.24. Also in discretionary, we were able to do 5.10 mile in the right fork of Brushy. Wait for it. And then also 1.89 mile in Barnshee. So with all the discretionary fund, we were able to pave 8.89 miles, which comes to 4,622 ton of asphalt, and it's $455,922.44. And then with our flex funding, in District 1, we done 3.89 miles of paving. In District 2, we done 3.45 miles of paving. And then in District 3 is 2.77 miles of paving. The only reason that you get a little bit of variation in the mileage is just because of road width. And then also the depth that you're putting it. That's the reason you get just all three were equal in the money. It was just why there's a little variation in the mileage. So in all the flex funding, we put down 10.11 mile. This comes to 4,774.97 ton of asphalt for the total of 377,297. All right, now this is what I kind of wanted to see. This is actually what you guys had contributed extra, the contribution you all had put in extra to the county. We were able to pave 58.67 miles, which comes to 33,004 ton of blacktop, and that's $2,499,905 is what we'd spent out of the contributions you all had made into the road department, the extra money you'd put in for us. And then the final slide would be, if you'll click again for me, Frankie, so this year we've put down 77.63 miles, goes to 40,154,000 ton of asphalt we put down. So it's a total with everything, $3,343,022.21. And then this is a big thing too. By us doing this in-house, Ms. Maynard with her Excel spreadsheet we actually saved $613,718.52 by doing this in-house rather than having it contracted out. And that's a lot of paving and a lot of paving miles we were able to do just because we done it in-house.
Pretty much paid for that paver, did it?
Almost twice in one season.
You're not counting what we saved last year.
Yeah, not counting the savings for last year. But that's one reason why I wanted to show this slide was just how much more we were able to do because we did do it in-house.
You probably saved over $1 million between last year and this year.
Oh, exactly. Yes.
We just put right back into the roads because we did it in-house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, like I said, that's extra mileage that we were able to put down.
Now, I'm going to put Commissioner Booth on the spot and put you on the spot. Between the two of you, got about 60 years in working in Pike County Road Department or being involved in it. Have you ever seen a year where the county paved almost 78 miles?
I'll let Commissioner Booth go first, and then I'll answer.
We've done really well. I mean, I'd love to have money to pave all the roads back over again.
And what I was going to say is the reason I let him go first is I would venture to say that there's been several administrations that through 4 years have not put down that kind of asphalt.
Well, let me explain to the public how we were able to do this. One, is we made cuts every possible place we could, and we scrutinized every penny. I mean, we don't buy anything unless Greg Fannin shops it. We don't buy anything at the garage unless we check to make sure it's the cheapest price. Sometimes the vendors don't get happy. The people that were used to getting the county business, they don't like that sometimes. But look, we've got 1,000 miles of county roads, and between last year and this year, we've probably paved, 130 miles? A little more than 130 miles. Normally, I would say the county would be lucky to pave 15 miles in a year.
You would be, because you rely solely on flex discretionary.
Well, let's explain. The county wasn't getting any discretionary money until this court came in. They weren't asking for it. They weren't getting any emergency fund. This don't even talk about the money we've got for bridge replacement.
No.
If you think about it, the county was budgeting $86,250 for each of the 6 road lots. So that might get you 10 or 11 miles. And then you were getting about $350,000 in flex funding, which would probably be another 6 or 7 miles. So on a good year, maybe 15, 17 miles somewhere.
For the entire county.
For the entire
That's
county.
not a district. It's the entire county.
So what we were able to do is we've been able to increase how much money, and we've had to use some coal severance tax to do it, but that's what coal severance tax was intended for. Under the formula, I think 30% was supposed to be spent on roads anyway. We're having to try to fix the infrastructure in the county, because if it had kept going the way it was, some of these roads, I mean, you can only patch it so many times. And I'm happy. I think you all have done a great job. I think the road department should be commended.
And I do too.
The special crew, I mean, they've worked on Saturdays. They've worked extremely hard. But I'm going to tell you, before this term of court is over with, we will have paved more county road miles in this 4 years than I would say any other administration in the last 40 years. Maybe ever.
I would say, honestly, at the rate we're going, if we can continue this into next year, I mean, hands down, I would never know of another court. And like you'd said, I actually worked here for 27 years, and I can say without a doubt, within the 27 years I spent, there was never this kind of money budgeted to do this kind of work.
And, we need more help from Frankfurt. I mean, we get about $2.5 million a year in county road aid money. That pays for salary. I mean, you got to pay equipment. I mean, not only have we done this, but we've replaced probably 60% of the road department equipment.
That was all out of the county funds. I mean, because honestly, to be quite honest, if I had to run the road department strictly on the budget that was set for me, it wouldn't take long to where every road would have to go back to gravel. We would not have the money, because like you just explained, to only be able to resurface 10 mile in one season, well, there's no way you can keep up with that pace.
That's 100-year. One of the things that we talk about at some of the judges' conferences, some of the magistrates' commissioners' conferences, is the paving cycle. So if you've got 1,000 miles of county roads and you pave 10 miles a year, that's a 100-year pavement cycle. So if your road gets paved this year, it's going to be 100
years before you get again.
Some of these, it's not unusual to see counties 20, 30 years. The way we were running, it was a 70 or 80-year pavement cycle. I mean, you can't take care of 1,000 miles of county roads when you're only going to pave 15 miles a year.
Exactly.
Now, the question is, going forward, can we sustain this? I mean, there's pressures that are going to be put on the court. Payroll, benefits, pension costs, and I'll throw this out. Right now, we're paying $2.4 million in pension costs just this year. In 5 years, by the end of whoever's the next judge executive, at the end of 5 years, the next administration, the pension costs will go to $4.2 million. That's assuming you don't hire anybody else and you don't give another penny of pay raises, because the more you hire, the more pay raises you give, that number goes up because the pension contribution rate. We all know that health insurance is going up 5 to 8% per year, the other benefits. So there's a lot of pressures on the county's budget. But I think it's a tribute to these guys over
It
here
is.
because of the
Absolutely.
priorities. I mean,
Absolutely, the entire court, they have, their priorities are there for these. And something that you touched on that I will have to say something about is you touched on the bridges. And I think that if somehow Frankfurt could ever get a program like they do the Flex program, but do that geared toward the bridges, somewhere along the line that's going to have to be done, because now that is going to be a big expense going forward. It is right now. We just don't have the money. We don't talk about it. But the bridges is going to be a big dollar ticket for the counties.
There's a lot of bridges that the steel under the bridges is starting to deteriorate.
And that's something that'll keep you up at night if you think about it a lot. I mean, these bridges.
do we even have an idea of how many county bridges we have?
We don't, no. If I sit here, I would be lying to you. If I told you
It's
I knew
it's
a number.
hundreds.
Oh, well, yeah, well, it's 100 per district. I mean, it's 100 per district. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of bridges out there. And the problem is honestly, we're going to have to get, within the county ourselves, we're going to have to start a grading system to where we go out every year and look at these. And that's where until we do that, we're not going to know the total cost of what it's going to cost us.
So here's another thing that we need to take into account when we take these roads and bridges in.
Oh, yeah.
When you're taking in, and somebody asks you to take a bridge in that is on the verge of collapse, that's a huge obligation for the county to undertake.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And there's no way, we have one bridge that's a great family, they're great people, but there's two houses served by this bridge, and it would probably cost $300,000. You cannot justify that kind of expenditure to serve two homes when your entire road department budget's $5.5 million.
Exactly.
I mean, you just, on one bridge, you can't do it. We do need help from the state, and
I think that would be a good idea if someone could get on board with that, to get us a program that's sort of like the Flex program, but just geared toward bridges.
well, I drove down Elkhorn Creek the other day. It's a state road. I was with Commissioner Robertson. I was shocked at how bad that road is right now in areas. I mean, the state's having trouble taking care of their own roads.
They are.
And bridges, because it all comes down to money. And maybe, our rural and secondary roads are in awful shape, and
And it's going to be going forward, it's going to be more of a concern on how you're going to prioritize and get this stuff done. And that's one reason why I do commend the court also on the roads that we adopt. Now, they've also, I have to say, we have adopted less roads in this road system than, since the court's been in, than what's normal. Usually they take in roads everywhere, which I did ask, so it's kind of, because we can't take care of what we have, and every road we add, that's just more dollars that we've got to, that we don't have to maintain those roads.
we've got a lot of obligations and limited revenue, but I think the roads have to be a priority. I think our emergency management, our senior citizens, our fire departments, and we have to pick garbage up for 20,000 customers. I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities the county has. But I appreciate the presentation. I just can't speak enough about these guys, because they're the ones that put the list together, and it's a hard decision for them to decide which roads get paved and which don't. There's a lot of roads that need it, but the one thing I'll say is that they've tried to make sure that the worst roads get paved first, and that's the only way you can do it, because we got a gentleman called because we put $70,000 in blacktop in his hauler, and he was mad because it didn't go up to his house, but the road from where we stopped paving didn't need it.
It did not.
And
I'll stand by that.
All of us would like to drive on new blacktop, but we don't have that luxury, and we got to pick the worst ones. So
And that is a very hard decision.
It is.
And it's one that everyone, they take that very seriously. I work with them on these roads, and they take that very seriously, because it is a hard decision.
It is. Because there's a lot of bad roads out there still yet.
There's a lot.
I had a fellow drive up my holler to see if my road been paved. He called me and said, I thought your road would be paved, but it ain't been. I said, no, mine will be one of the last ones to get done.
Mine's not either.
We've tried to do this in a way that the public has faith in what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish here for the betterment of the future generations.
And you have, it's just like with the road report. Everything we do is there for everybody in the public to see every 2 weeks. They get to see what we do. If they want to run that and look at that, it's all out in the open. There's not a thing hidden.
And I think it's something I wanted to mention. We were having lunch, and we ran into a very well-respected minister, somebody that I've known pretty much my whole life. I have tremendous respect for, but worked for county government for a long time. And he stopped Mr. Little, and he said, you're doing a lot of things that we talked about doing when I was in county government. Yeah. He was really complimentary of how Fabian's changed the road department for the better, and to address issues that they recognized over the years, but they just politically couldn't get it done.
Right.
So I think that's a testament to what you've done.
Well, I appreciate it. But it's also being allowed to do that.
Sam, thank you very much for the work you've done. We don't often mention some of the people who get this stuff done, but Sam's done a great job.
Just even down to this PowerPoint. She's the one who done this. And she does do a great job.
Anybody can figure out how to use a computer like that. It's got I'm not the one to mess with PowerPoint. I'm dangerous when I try to use it. All right. We have the county commissioner's road work orders and completed work orders. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Before we vote on this, would you like to talk about the paving? Commissioner Robertson's been chomping to say something.
I would like to thank Fabian and the special crew. They have done a fantastic job. And I got to thank Ike and Ralph, too. They come in with that little paver and done a whole lot.
They done about 10 mile.
I know the judge gets tore up when we bust that budget, but if we'd had those other two Peterbilts, you got another 3 miles for us.
we would have hit that 80,000, wouldn't we? We'd have hit the 80 miles.
Picking on me is what you're doing.
No, I just want to thank you all. Y'all have done a great job.
Well, we appreciate it, and I know they do. But also, that goes for the entire, because while Ike and Ralph were paving, the other crews pulled in and helped take care of the just the day-to-day stuff that we'd have to do, just the maintenance. So it was a team effort from everyone. Everyone chipped in so we could do this.
It's a team effort all the way around.
Oh, it is. And that's how you have to look at it. It's a team effort. Everything.
The question, I guess the main question for this year is, will Commissioner Robertson ever forgive me over the Peterbilt trucks?
And that's going to be nothing. He may forgive you, but it will be brought up. You will live that for now. Yeah, you will.
Well, I think the trucks has done us a fine job.
They have.
And I think they'll be around here for a while, as long as we take care of it.
Big question is, have you found enough drivers to drive them?
We're still working on that. We're doing really well. We're doing, I think, better than expected. I do think that. I think Judge Hickman would agree with that.
I do agree with that. All right.
Judge, I would like to say one more thing.
As long as it's not about Peterbilt trucks, I recognize you.
Up at the mouth of Ford's Branch on the Shelby side, we have cleaned that brush up 3 times since we've been in here. It is completely full again. Fabi and I looked at it the other day. I just want to reach out there to the people, seize whoever's dumping this brush beside the road. If they'll get us a picture, if they'll get us a license number, if they'll get a picture of the truck, bring that to us and we'll stop this.
So-
We're gonna have to stop it.
So here's what I wanna do. You're talking about the chippings and stuff.
Yes.
I want Roy to put an ordinance in place for tree trimming companies. Let me tell you what I think it needs to say. That every tree trimming company in the county has to register, if they're not already registered, but they have to register with the road department. Okay? And they have to get approval from the road department on every location that they intend to dump. And if they dump in an unapproved location or on public property, in a stream, creek, or any other location that they do not have the permission of the private property owner, it'll be a $5,000 fine per occurrence. Now, that'll get their attention.
And that can't happen fast enough.
And it's creating problems for the road department.
It has.
Well, when Fabian cleans the ditch and they go clean the hill above the ditch and they cut this stuff and they just let it fall down, it'll eventually work its way down to the
And
ditch.
here's what it needs to say, when they do any kind of vegetation removal, that they have to remove it from the streams and creeks. And roadways. So.
This is a constant battle we fought since we've been in here, and it's been going on for a long time.
And Fabian, I want you, or let Colonel Downey as Assistant County Attorney, go ahead and call Nelson in Asplin.
Oh, I have tried. I've tried.
Let the Colonel do it.
Well, so far, I've not been able to get through. Hopefully, he can.
Well, I've seen the Colonel when he gets mad.
Good.
Let the Colonel get a hold of him.
Yeah, don't drink his L8.
I
said, don't drink his L8.
Don't make him mad, is what I would recommend.
But that's one thing that people don't want to come here and see that stuff beside the road.
No. And, you know, that site, and then there's one more site that comes to mind, and that's on Allegheny. It's really bad. I mean, they've dumped out onto the state road even, you know, from the county road out to the state road.
Above Edgewater there is.
Yeah, it is. And that's a spot that we clean up yearly. That honestly, you could tell it has been dumped by tree cutting services.
And not knowing how much they dump up in the head of a holler.
Right.
Can I suggest that we put in actual cleanup costs if the county does
Yeah.
have to go clean it up, that we can work with our commissioner to what that cost was, and that in addition to a fine, that they can be targeted with that.
You can, you write it, you write it every how you want to.
That's free reign.
The harsher, the better. Judge Hickman has something.
I do, Judge. The most amazing thing about dumping brush, and I think that Chuck and his crew will attest to this 100%, is that any place that brush gets dumped, suddenly garbage gets dumped.
Absolutely.
And we are amazed by what the thought process is that anybody would think that would be okay.
So here's what I want to talk about. Well, first of all, let's do this. We need to vote on this. Lisa's over here shaking her head. One thing we did not talk about, that you and I talked about this week, is how many of our county roads, we've talked about the need to pave roads that are deteriorating. We've talked about the importance of cleaning ditches out. We've talked in the past about cleaning our drains out because the county didn't even have a jetter until we came in. That's something else we've done. We've talked about making sure your ditches and culverts were clean. But we talked about all the problems with some of these bridges that are deteriorating. The one thing that we've not talked about is how many drain pipes that the county has under these roads that were galvanized steel drain pipes that are rusting out. And we talked, was it Booker Fork?
Yeah, that was what just come to mind. Commissioner Tackett and then myself have both rode that road, and honestly, every drain on that road will have to be replaced here. They're all ready to collapse. I was shocked. I didn't know that they all were in that bad of a shape. But I'm telling you, every drain in that hollow is a galvanized drain, and every one, the bottom is gone. There's no bottom to them.
If we had, and this is not an overestimation, and if you disagree, you can tell me, if we had $25 million right now, that wouldn't be enough to fix the road infrastructure that needs to be fixed.
No, it would not. It would not come close. That's why I was,
If the state gave us $25 million and said, go fix it,
you couldn't do it.
you could not fix the road. When you factor in the bridges,
That's
the
right.
drains, the culverts, and the $25 million would go a long way, but it's still.
But no, you still would not fix all of the problems.
No, I mean, and you know, we've got, so are we already working on the, some of these bridges? Have we started on any of them yet?
Well, we started on just a foot traffic bridge this week, and then probably next week, though, we'll start on a wall. So we're still probably about a week and a half away from actual starting on the
Any
bridges.
update on Penny Street?
That's we're waiting on the survey. That's where I'm at right now, is waiting on the survey to come back and see exactly if we could buy that portion of land and see who owns it.
That'd save us a lot of money if we could do that.
Well, it will, because if we could buy that, then that means I do not have to put in a bypass. I can leave that bridge standing while I build the other bridge. And that's in itself is going to save us quite a bit of money.
With high waters coming through this winter, spring, you know, you put drain pipes in that creek, that's a big creek.
Yeah.
How many times we will have to go down the creek and try to find drain pipes or
If you can find
replace
them.
it, if you can even find them.
Yeah.
And replace it. So, I mean, it would, I mean, you're talking big bucks just keeping the.
Plus haul all the rock in, then have to take it back out.
And
drain it
honestly, if we could purchase that piece of property, it will allow us to put that bridge in at a better angle, and you're going to take that S curve. There's a little S curve when you exit that bridge. You would be able to take that out. It would help the road out on its own, you know, just by being able to straighten the road.
Anything else before we vote? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Doug, come on back up. We have the, can you just briefly tell us what this bid, this purchase agreement, because it is state contract?
Well, actually, it's a quote, and it's for 6 repeaters, replacing the last 6 repeaters we need to replace, 330 portables, 248 mobiles, and the total cost was $1,207,645.60. We had $280,998 in discounts, and they upgraded the standard 3-year warranty on all the radios to a 5-year warranty at no cost.
So basically, the initial price was $1,488,000. You were able to negotiate it down by roughly $281,000 to $1,207,645.60.
Yes.
Now that quote expires January 17th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So is there a motion to purchase the base radios, repeaters, handhelds, and other equipment specified in the, I won't say bid, but in the specifications from Motorola Solutions for the sum of $1,207,645.60, subject to approval to use ARPA funds for this?
Motion.
Let me back up. Subject to us having sufficient lost revenue under the formula that we could then use it from the general fund to do it. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Doug, you want anything you
I'll
want
say
to
is, go ahead, Doug.
No, you go ahead.
I just, you know, to me, this is a very important thing for this county, safety.
Yes, it is.
For how many members are they, Brian?
Well, there's a bunch of volunteer firemen. There's probably 600 and some countywide.
Right. I just.
Well, they go out there and do this and charge us nothing. You know, and for them to go out there and not have communication, that's not good.
No, it's not.
Now, let me ask you, what's the difference between a portable and a mobile? Mobile's in the vehicle.
Mobile goes in the vehicle, and a portable they carry.
Now, 330 portables may not be enough.
It may not be. That's roughly 15 per fire department.
It won't be?
It may not be. But some do, some don't. And some departments have same members, like Turkey Creek has members that's on Hatfield and Belfry, and vice versa.
This will get us started with it.
Yeah, we gotta
Yes, it
start
will.
somewhere.
What's that? Yeah.
This will get us started.
Is there any money that we could save by selling the old equipment?
Possibly.
So once we get, how long will it take to get this new system in?
I don't know how long it'll take to get it shipped here. It may be 6 to 8 weeks lead time. But once it gets here, I think we can have it out pretty quick.
Okay.
I mean, programming, I've already got some of the programming set up. It's just a matter of finalizing it. And
Doug, will this new system rotate back to analog if necessary?
yes, right now it's
Still have
running
dual
both.
capability, right?
Yeah, it does analog and digital. The repeaters do. They can do either one.
Okay. No antenna issues?
No antenna issues. On the trucks, it'll be basically change the mounting bracket, put the radio in, use same antenna and power cable.
Hey Doug, how much are the handhelds each?
Handhelds each under the discount price is $21.92.10.
For each
21.
handheld?
Huh?
For each radio, handheld radio?
Yes.
$2,100
Yes.
So expensive.
for each handheld?
Yes. And the mobiles are $25.99.70 a piece.
Wow. I had no idea that a handheld would cost that much.
Yes, they do.
Doug,
Now,
there's
this is
no
top of the line. I mean, we're
Well, it's the mid-range in Motorola.
okay.
And everything we've got is Motorola. That's what we did before with the grants when we were able to get them.
Doug, you talked to me about trying to replace this radio system when I was in the Senate,
I know it.
and there was no source of money to do
There was
it.
no source then.
Did the prior courts ever talk about trying to find a way to replace this?
No. They said, go get a grant.
Does these radios, Doug, do they buckle on your belt?
Yes, they've got a clip. It slips on your belt.
Okay.
You good with them, Nee? And what we can do is, once we've got an idea, if we need more,
Mm-hmm.
then, we can buy some,
Yeah. And I'll work to make sure you get discounts.
And we need to make sure that, we need to continue to try for grant applicate every time we can to see if we can't, if we're gonna have to do this, we can at least try. If we couldn't get this much of a grant for the radio system, maybe we can get some money for handhelds down the road.
Well, I think we can get money for handhelds. We just have to write the grants again. I do believe we can.
Do you think the amount of the grant was one of the reasons it got turned down?
It could be, but we didn't put in for the whole, the AFG grants have $1 million cap. You can't go above that. So we tried repeaters and not portables, but mobiles one year to get the backbone in. And the next year we tried mobiles because we didn't get the whole thing. Then the next year we tried portables and they just kept denying us.
Can the firefighters, can the individual departments apply for an AFG grant as well?
Yes.
How many of them are doing that? Do we know?
Not enough.
So maybe we need to have a meeting with, before you leave, to just talk about with some of the chiefs about, come on up, maybe we could get, you or Nee to talk to them and see if we can't come up. We'll be happy to help put the paperwork together for them.
Well,
We can do that, Judge. One of the things, and Doug mentioned earlier, communications from the AFG grants is not a priority. Like this year, PPE is a priority. They've got a $50,000. They want to try everything to be $50,000 or under, but PPE is a priority. Communications, I don't know, it's 5 or 6 down on the list. So they're not going to even look, they won't even look at communications right now from an AFG standpoint for individual departments. What their goal is now is to try to get more grants, less dollars per grant, and do more grants is what their target is.
Let me ask you this. Are other counties having trouble with their radio systems as well?
Yes.
The biggest thing with ours, like Doug mentioned earlier, our radio system is 22 years old. When we started with our radio system, it was state of the art then. We were cutting edge. We were really early in the game, one of the first ones. And, time has just caught up with the system.
Where'd the money come from to buy the current system?
The current one was done with AFG grants back around 99, 2000.
We've not been able to get it.
2001, actually.
And we're going to replace them.
Yeah.
So, here's what makes no sense to me. The state police has this radio system.
Yeah.
Why would the state police, or I won't say the state, but the state's radio system not be set up to where it had multiple channels to where, the state police would use one, secure frequency. Then you could have your sheriff's departments on another.
They're working on that now. They're starting in western Kentucky with a new statewide 800 megahertz system for the state police, and they plan to do that. Allow first responders from other communities to use that system.
I mean, it's like a duplication of efforts here. I mean, every county's trying to do a system. I mean, cities are doing the system. I mean, if you're going to have a statewide system, why would you not? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me why we're spending that kind of money to duplicate it.
If they get their statewide system put in, it'll be 800 megahertz, which means they're going to have quite a few tower sites up here in order to make it work.
But they can't. But you're talking that's years down.
Years.
Yeah.
I'd say you're talking.
That's going to be down the road.
These radios may be
Obsolete by
obsolete.
then.
These will probably be obsolete by the time that system goes in.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a motion a second, right? Lisa, we have a motion a second.
We do.
Okay. Any other question or discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Now, let's do, I think that's all for you gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate you all very much. Clerk, let's do the treasurer's business. Mr. Stacy.
Acknowledge receipt of the Sheriff and Clerk's 2550 report for November 2021.
Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the Sheriff and Clerk's 2550 reports for November 2021?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated December 20th, plus any other utility bills received before we run checks.
Is there a motion to authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated December 2021, plus any other utility bills before checks are run?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize checks for lodging, registration, and expenses for any employee who wishes to attend the KCJEA legislative reception, which will be January 25th at the Hyatt Regency in Lexington.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion. Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize checks for lodging, registration, and expenses for any employee who needs to attend the KCJEA Winter Conference, February 2nd and 3rd at the Marriott Griffin Gate in Lexington.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize a standing order for checks to reimburse the Pike County Sheriff's Office for pass-through funds received for the U.S. ATF deputy salaries.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. All right. I have talked to Ms. Worley about the contract, and she has advised me that they will correct those two issues, and this will be the venue and controlling law. We would change that to Pike County, Kentucky, and then the conflict waiver provision would be removed as well. Subject to those two changes, is there a motion to hire Sturgill Turner in Langdon, Ryan, Worley in particular to provide legal guidance on the ARPA funds as in lieu of the Stites and Harbison law firm? Motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. All right, we have need for executive session. And Mr. King, would you please advise or instruct the public on the relevant provisions of the Kentucky Open Meeting Law as it relates to the entry into executive session?
We'll need a motion under 61, KRS 61810, subsection C and F to discuss proposed pending litigation and specific personnel matters.
Okay. Is there a motion to enter into executive session? Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. All right. Also, I want to clarify that motion we're good. We're good on that. All right. So we'll be in executive session for a brief period of time, and then we'll return at the call of the chair. Is there a motion to adjourn from executive session? We have motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Booth. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
All right. All right. It is my motion to approve accepting William May's resignation effective 12/9/2021, to accept Dewey Reed's resignation effective 12/9/2021, to hire Tony Epling as a truck driver at Road Lot 2 effective 12/27/21. What rate of pay would that be, Justin?
All those are 3H.
Okay. At a 3H rate of pay, hire James Sloan as a truck driver at Road Lot 1, effective 12/20/21 at a 3H rate of pay. Hire Austin Hager as a truck driver at Road Lot 5, effective 12/20/2021 at a 3H rate of pay. To acknowledge the retirement of Charles Maynard, effective December 31st, 2021, we certainly wish him the best. And to hire Tim Fields as Deputy Emergency Management Director, GIS Coordinator, and FEMA Coordinator at a 5A rate of pay, effective January 17, 2022. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Roberts. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. All right. Mr. Fann, anything from you, sir? Ms. Skaggs? Mr. Williamson? Mr. Jackson? Mr. Fields, anything, sir? Look forward to having you here. Mr. Spears, anything from Safety Office? Mr. Tackett? Anything from Finance? You too. Mr. Atkins, anything?
Just a few words, Judge. Been here about a week and a half now, and I'm just really pleased with how helpful everyone here, not only on the judge's office floor, but upstairs also. Everyone's went out of the way to make me feel welcome, to help me in any way that I asked, and I really appreciate that. On the trail side, our equipment operators have nearly completed the rough-in phase of the nearly all two-lane road, which will connect US 23, going across the flat woods and continuing through the property that the county bought off of AEP. And that will end on Route 197, Elkhorn Creek. I think you've driven that yourself recently. I'm very proud of that. They're going to have just a few days off. The truck they're using to transfer fuel is going to be in the garage getting some much-needed repair. When they come back, they're going to continue finishing that road, and then they'll start some new trails. Yesterday, we had 2 mowers up there, mowed 2 big bottoms. I think they finished up today, which we'll be looking into putting some parking, primitive camping for campers and tents as we develop that. And also our land agent, Nathan Reed, with much help from Commissioner Tackett, who made a personal introduction to 2 different people in the Dorton area. Nathan finished up his legwork on getting a title search done. He took it over to the title attorney, and they're now in for title opinion. And when those come back, if all's good, I'll get it to the county attorney to have the leases and/or easements drawn up.
Thank you, sir. Anything back from Kentucky Berwyn that we've heard? Jerry, can you contact Steve Dale? Colonel Downey sent the letter to him that we had that they had asked for. That's been sent over a month ago.
We talked to Mr. Dale, Jerry and I did, and they were going to swap information and kind of take me out of the loop so I'm not running between them. So we've got direct coordination, I believe, between him and Dale. Is that right?
Yes, we do.
I'll give Sharon a couple meetings back. I think, did you get one too, Jerry? A letter of support from Berwyn, from Steve Dale.
I gave Jerry a copy of mine.
I do have a copy of that letter. Mr. Dale told me in the phone call with Colonel Downey and I that he had furnished that letter of support, and he does support the trail system in any way that he can. At this time, that's all he has to offer.
Does he say anything else about what their company's position is, or anything about giving us access to their property?
He give us Berwyn give us the okay to go ahead and start speaking with their lead, who's got the property leased from them.
Do we have a list of those people?
We do. We do.
Jerry, why don't we do this? First week of January, can you start taking that list and reaching out to those those companies that have leases from Kentucky Berwyn, because that's the next big track to tie this in.
Right.
And then sometime in January, I'd like to do a public meeting over in Blackberry or South Williamson to talk about the trail system. We could have some maps, look at where we might be able to start working on a trailhead over on that side of the county and trying to take it from both ends. You know, trying to grow it from the ends to the center, so to speak. Let it meet in the middle.
We'd probably need somebody, I don't know, I've had a few calls. I've not found out nothing yet, that the Middlefield property, at Belcher, there in the Belcher area, the lease, I think the guy was giving the lease back to, DB Kazee, which was on the property. That might be something we need to check into, but I've also heard that he has leased it for another so many years. I mean, since they pulled our lease, we don't know.
Here's the gist of it. If at some point the court believes that we need that Middlefield property, we've got the ability to do something and that's called eminent domain. We can condemn it and take it for a public purpose. So that's always an option. I'm not saying we'll do that. I'm not saying, but I think right now what we need to be doing is trying to go and start over on the South Williamson, Buskirk side, and move it toward the middle of the county.
Right.
Take the Flatwoods property, but the Kentucky Berwyn is a huge key to that.
Right. I think we've done spoke with Pocahontas, and we just got to get them some mapping, and same way with the RH group.
Well, let's get meetings set with Pocahontas, RH, and let's start ahead and start talking about the folks with.
And that's the big block of Blackberry, Phelps.
Lexington Cole's in on that too.
Yeah.
Do we have a map that shows Kentucky, the lessees on Kentucky Berwyn's property?
I've got a list of who all's got property leased from Berwyn, which is in the spine of the trail going from.
But we need a map that shows that Kentucky Berwyn property and try to identify on that map the specific lessees. Because that way we know who's leased what.
Agree.
So, I mean, that's something we need to get with.
Charles may already have that. I'm thinking that he does.
Well, we need the names of the lessees on Berwyn's, a map with Berwyn, so we can start working on that.
I think one of the problems we've got, Judge, is what we want to try to map out and get, it's not matching up with. Reggie, help me on that.
We've had some overlay issues in the mapping.
Yeah, some of it's not correct.
It's not exactly correct. It's off a little bit.
I would expect that.
Yeah, it's off a little bit.
The next trail meeting, I was planning on putting a packet together for each one that has property leased from Berwyn and kind of getting in touch with them.
I think I wouldn't even do that. I would let Jerry start with a personal phone call.
Well, that's, I mean, yeah.
That's me. I would
That
start.
that was gonna be my next, deal in the trail meeting.
If Jerry could start calling those companies, and then we'll put a package of information together if they're willing to talk to us, set meetings up with them.
I spoke with United, and they seemed they was interested, so. Which that was just a local Virginia office.
You know, I've always said, I don't think that this is not going to be a replacement for coal, but it is a piece of the equation, part of the equation for trying to stimulate economic development here. And I think that there seems to be, I mean, there's obviously going to be some negative, but there's also a lot of people that seem to be receptive to it, that want to see the development. Jerry, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll get started on that, Judge.
Thank you. All right, anything from the floodplain office? Solid waste, I can probably address it. We will have boxes out the solid waste system will not run this Thursday, correct, Chuck? It will run next week, the week of New Year's. It will run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, normal schedule. There will be convenience boxes set out in the areas that have Thursday and Friday pickup. If you want to know where those convenience centers are, convenience boxes are, you can go to the Pike County Solid Waste Facebook page. I'm not sure if we're going to have it. Will this be? Can we get the? It'll be in the pay. It's in the paper today. So obviously, our employees, like everybody else, need time off with their families. Inevitably, there are going to be some complaints about why solid waste is not working on the holiday. That's just part of it. When it's, I have a Monday pickup. If Christmas falls on Monday, my garbage is not going to be picked up. But we are going to work New Year's Eve day, the 31st. So if anybody has any questions, the solid waste office will be open today. We'll be closed Thursday and Friday. So thank you all very much, and make sure all the staff in the solid waste department knows we appreciate it. All right, Mr. Ratliff, Ms. Hall, anything from the grant office? Mr. Maynard, anything, sir? Personnel? Colonel Downey, anything, sir? Assistant County Attorney?
Merry Christmas, Judge.
Merry Christmas. It's going to be like Christmas vacation here in about 5 minutes. Anything from the clerk's office or the treasurer's office? Now, the brains of the organization, Judge Hickman.
No, Judge, just Merry Christmas, everyone.
Couldn't do without you. All right, Commissioner Tackett, we'll start.
I just want to wish everybody in the county a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and all the county employees the same. I want to thank each and every one of them, as long as it works for the county, for what they do to help move this county forward, and keep the Western Kentucky, Mayfield, the people that's been touched with the tornado in your prayers. And that's just remember your neighbor through these holidays and all the time anyway. But there's some not as fortunate as others, but keep the Mayfield and tornado victims in your prayers. That's all.
Commissioner Roberts, anything, sir?
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. That's all I got.
Commissioner Booth.
I just want to wish all the employees and everybody out there a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and just remember the real reason for the season.
Well said. I just have a couple things I want to mention. We had some employees ask why we were not doing an awards day ceremony this year. In the past, even our first year in office, we had an awards day where we were able to bring in our employees and their families and have dinner, and we as a government entity can't give bonuses. It's prohibited by the Kentucky Constitution, and we can't buy gifts for employees. We can't buy stuff to have drawings or whatever like most companies would do. We can't even legally buy gift cards for our employees for a turkey or a ham. It's just one of the things that differs between government and the private sector. Just like earlier in the meeting, we had to talk about the fact that we have to bid something, even though it may be the best deal we could get. That's just part of government. Government operates by a different set of rules than than the private sector does. And we did not, after we canceled the last Christmas dinner in 2020, we had all hoped that with the vaccine coming that we could have a picnic or an outdoor event in the summer to make up for that. Well, last summer we were in the middle of the Delta surge, and we had a lot of people sick. Hospitals were full. A lot of people died here in the county. And now we're seeing an uptick in cases again. We're back in the red. So in good conscience, the fiscal court can't have a public event where we're going to have 200, 250 people here in the courthouse gathered together to eat and those kind of things. I'm hoping at some point we might be able to maybe next summer, do something like that. But I really don't think that we can do something like that in good conscience right now. Not that we don't value our employees. It's not that we don't care about our employees. It's not that we don't want our employees to have a Merry Christmas. But, you know, we've done everything we can. And that was one of the reasons that we gave the 5% pay raise a few months back, is because we know a lot of our employees and their families are struggling. In the 3 years we've been in office, we've been able to provide 2 pay raises, and that's hard to do with declining revenue. We also recognize that a lot of our employees are lower paid than they would be in the private sector. That's a challenge for the court for retention and initially for recruitment when people can make more money in the private sector. It's even more challenging with so many people who are, you know, wanting to stay home or retire early, which is a trend that we've seen nationally. I do want to wish everyone here in the county a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We meet again on January 4th. There are a lot of families out there who are less fortunate than any of the folks sitting here in this courtroom are. And if you know a family that needs help or they need food, let us know. Let the members of the court know, and we'll do our best to try to help. Remember those families in Western Kentucky, the ones that lost their homes, the ones that lost their businesses. But more importantly, the families of those nearly 80 people who lost their lives. While we're going to be celebrating Christmas with our children or grandchildren or our families, some of those families don't have that opportunity or that luxury. And it's for some people it's such a joyous time, and for others it's going to be such a sad occasion. But continue to pray for those folks. If you do want to help the families or help with the recovery effort, call our emergency management office or call the judge's office, and we'll put you through. And we'll try to help coordinate that. One of the things that, as Doug explained, that you don't necessarily want to do is just flood stuff down there that they don't need or they don't have anywhere to put it. The people on the ground that are working in recovery efforts, they need to be able to say what they need. I mean, it may be that they've got more water than they could ever possibly use, or they may, it's not just sending it down there. There has to be somebody unload it. There has to be somebody warehouse it. There has to be somebody catalog it. There has to be somebody distribute it. And we want to make sure that logistically we're not creating a bigger problem for the first responders and the people working in recovery. But if you do want to do something, contact our emergency management office, and we'll talk to the folks in Western Kentucky to see what they need. And that way we can target the relief effort a little better. Next year's going to be some challenges. I'm looking forward to next year because, we made a lot of progress in 3 years. There's a lot of work left to be done. We've got a great bunch of people working for the county that truly care about what they're doing, that are passionate about what they do. Do we always get it right? No. We have employees that make mistakes. We have elected officials like myself that make mistakes. And when you're in these positions, not every decision we make is right. But I can tell you, I believe that this administration, this fiscal court, makes the best decisions we can with the information we have to try to move this county forward. I think one of the bright spots is we are substantially better off financially in terms of when we came in. We are, and I think people around the state are taking notice that if we can turn our county around with better management practices, and the other counties are looking at what we're doing. I know that for a fact because I have county judges call me and ask me about issues. We've got a lot of work to do. I'm looking forward to the new year, and God bless each and every one of you. And I would like to ask, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge somebody else that's getting ready to retire, and that's Mr. Gary Sloan, who is getting ready to hang it up and call it quits. I think I saw a post he put up that he was, not going to be covering any more political seasons, and I think he's going, one more. One more. So I'd like to ask him to come up. If there's no other business to come before the court, I'd like for him to come up and say the benediction, and then we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Father, for the opportunity to gather together, Father God, as these leaders of this county, Father God, move the county forward. Father God, we thank you for the wisdom instilled upon them, Father. And Father God, we give thanks for the many blessings that you bestow upon each and every one of us and the birth of your Son, Jesus. And it's in Jesus' precious name we pray and we ask, and amen.
Amen. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robertson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett, Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes, we are adjourned.